In episode number 322 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover the Detective Pikachu trailer from Warner Brothers.
We also have DC's initial plans for Detective Comics number 1000. It'll be here before we know it.
Our comic book review, we have two this week as we promised, one of which is William Gibson's Alien 3 number 1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Detective Daniel.
And, man, you threw me off. I'm Kelli.
Trainer Kelli. Youngster Kelli.
Pokemaster Kelli.
Last Kelli is another one. There's a ton of trainers that you ran across. Golfing
Kelli?
Yeah, it'd be like trainer golfing Bruce wants to fight. They had those all the time.
No,
Swimmer Joey.
Artist. It was bug catcher Joey. Calm down.
Bug catcher's another one. To anyone who's, this episode is their very first one, the way we format the show is we go through some news first, then we head into the Brocat block, which is what's been happening with Papa Kelly and I. We head into the Patreon shoutouts where we thank the Patreon backers, the people that make this show possible, and then we end with a review or comic book highlight, which this week, as promised, once again, 2 comic book reviews.
We have way too much good news not to jump right into it. This week, Legendary Pictures tweeted that production had officially begun for Godzilla vs. King Kong.
We haven't even gotten the King of Monsters yet. We got the amazing trailer.
Yep.
The movie that I'm super excited for, and one that you said you were more excited for that than even Aquaman and a lot of the stuff that is coming out. And it does look incredible. But Warner Brothers is already putting out the news that we know King of Monsters is going to do really fucking well. And just so you know, we're starting Godzilla vs. Kong, set to release summer 2020.
Of course Godzilla's going to do well. Any Godzilla movie is going to do well.
We're going to get back-to-back years of big screen Godzilla action.
Wonderful. I'm so excited.
I still want that one scene of Batfleck in that casino from the first Godzilla where the casino lights are going off and then they're like, what's going on? And one of the guys turns around, you see him from the back and it's Batfleck. And then he says, Alfred, get it ready. And then next thing you know, he busts in and fucking punches Godzilla with the giant bat mech suit. It's Warner Brothers. It can happen.
Would it be a bat mech suit or would it be Mecha Godzilla? Mecha Batzilla.
There you go. Batzilla. You just invented that.
Just like
up.
Mecha Godzilla, except it's got little bat ears. It's perfect.
He's got a little Robin mech as well.
It's great. I love it. Or would it be like a Jaeger? We'll just mix them together because that was pretty much Godzilla.
Are you still Team Godzilla?
Of course. I will forever be Team Godzilla, not Team Donkey Kong or whatever.
I am Team Donkey Kong, yes. I am rooting for Kong.
No, I'm not rooting for Kong. It's all about Godzilla.
Have we changed since talking about that news on who we think that they're going to inevitably team up against? Are they going to team up against Mecha Batzilla or Mecha Godzilla?
I don't know. I don't think I've gotten that far. It's going to depend on the end of this next movie to see, because I feel like they're going to hint at the next threat at the end of this movie.
So you don't think they'll focus on Kong as maybe there's a stare down in the post-credit scene? Do you think we'll see plans of a blueprint and it's a Mecha Godzilla thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think there will also be Kong in there somewhere. Probably the end credits scene will either be them staring down Kong or them taking Godzilla to Monster Island or just King Kong's roar. I left myself open there so that when I'm right.
Well, let's step back a little bit to King of Monsters coming out next year. I was talking to one of my regulars at the shop, and he pointed out that, and I hadn't even noticed, and it's so obvious. He says, why do they choose all flying monsters for Godzilla to fight? So you have Rodan, you have Mothra, and then you have Monster Zero, all of which are going to be up in the air, except for the little larvae Mothra that we're going to get. And I said, yeah, that's true, but it also keeps that theme of the other monsters against Godzilla. He can't fly. Maybe he's at a disadvantage, but he does think that Mothra is going to team up with Godzilla to fight Rodan and King Ghidorah.
Plot twist. Monster Zero teams up with Godzilla because they're both my favorites.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
And then they fight my two not favorites. If that happened, then I'm even more right about things than I already am.
Like the movie's like, why does King Ghidorah always have to be the bad guy? It's like, oh shit, that's true.
King Ghidorah is awesome. Like, I don't want him to be a bad guy.
He dies saving Godzilla. And they bring him back with the metal head in 2 movies.
Perfect. And
Was
then
it
there's
Mecha
still
Ghidorah?
I don't know. Fuck, I never saw that movie.
I think Godzilla had taken off, like ripped off the middle head or something.
He ripped off one of the heads.
And the
I remember
wings.
that happening. And I remember him coming back as a mecha, but by then I was like too old to watch Godzilla.
Another Warner Brothers flick that got everyone's attention. It was all over Twitter. It was trending, and it dwarfed a certain someone else's trailer that happened to release on the exact same day. We got, out of nowhere, I did not expect this trailer drop, but through Ryan Reynolds' official Twitter, the first Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie trailer was released.
Shit! Ryan Reynolds will be voicing Pikachu.
I've seen that as the biggest complaint from everyone about the trailer.
I mean, when I listen to it, I don't really hear Ryan Reynolds.
Well, that's the thing that one of the complaints is that they just hear Deadpool is what a lot of people say, is they just hear Ryan Reynolds. And maybe it's because we only saw Deadpool the one time and it did not leave an impact on us that I don't hear Deadpool when I see the trailer. I hear Ryan Reynolds or I hear their version of Pikachu.
I just hear Pikachu. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like some fucking detective old man Pikachu.
The other thing I'm also hearing is it should have been Danny DeVito, because that's what the nerds kept saying, and it should be Danny DeVito. I don't remember where it originated from.
Weirdos.
It's like, it doesn't have to be anyone. I don't know why that's what they chose to latch onto. But I think whatever voice they gave to Pikachu
people wouldn't like it.
Yeah, would. It wouldn't have been the perfect choice or anything. But what I was saying is that Ryan Reynolds does carry a fan base and an expectation among a lot of people. So I think that is a draw for a lot. If you put Danny DeVito, for example, not that it needs the extra push, it's Pokemon, it's going to make money. But Ryan Reynolds is going to bring in some of the Deadpool fans that might not be familiar with Pokemon, that never gave that a chance. And they said, you know what? I know they're going to reference that probably in the next Deadpool movie. So why not? Why don't I go see Pikapool or Deadchew?
So before we get into our thoughts on the trailer, I will say the synopsis, which reads, quote, "The story begins when ace detective Harry Goodman goes mysteriously missing, prompting his 21-year-old son, Tim, to find out what happened. Aiding in the investigation is Harry's former Pokemon partner, Detective Pikachu, a hilariously wisecracking, adorable super sleuth who is a puzzlement even to himself. Finding that they are uniquely equipped to communicate with each other, Tim and Pikachu join forces on a thrilling adventure to unravel the tangled mystery." End quote.
Your thoughts on the movie that is starring your favorite Pokemon of all time. A movie pretty much made for Pikachu fans, and as it turns out, Bulbasaur fans as well. It pisses on Charizard fans because that shit looks terrible. Charizard was an ugly-ass Pokemon in that.
So, when you first told me that this was live action, I was very concerned, right? Because how do you make Pokemon live action without looking fucking stupid, right? So, being such a big Pikachu fan, I was also very concerned because how do you give Pikachu a voice? Pikachu has never had a voice besides his cute little Pika-Pikas.
Not true. He had it in Detective Pikachu, the video game, which has been out for a while.
Didn't play it.
And he also spoke in the Pokemon movie that ends up being a what-if story at the very end when he's talking to Ash, and they're both about to die. But people took that as like he's literally speaking. It's like, no, they understand each other then. It was all about their relationship.
That was still weird. I remember that. Anyway, very skeptical. And then you showed me this trailer, and all my worries flew away like a butterfree in the wind. It looks amazing.
Welcome to Rhyme City, a celebration of the harmony between humans and Pokemon.
See, I'm with you on the look of Pokemon, because what I expected, honestly, was to see what we have gotten on, for example, the Pokemon commercials, or even Super Smash Brothers, where there's still 3D models in a real world. That's kind of what I expected to see. Or in the commercials where they'll have them like running around in the real world, it doesn't look terrible. I would have been completely fine with almost like the Smash Brothers or Pokemon Stadium or even the games now. Those models running around in the real world, and yeah, they'll have shadows on them, but they look just like the Pokemon. Instead, they took the risk of making them look hyper realistic for the most part. For example, one of the things was Jigglypuff made her really furry, and that's one thing that people were also complaining about, but it's like, what'd you think the fucking swirl on the forehead was?
Right. It would
look
hair.
weird.
Yeah.
As like a fleshy character, unlike Mr. Mime, who is a weird fleshy looking fucking character. Second ugliest Pokemon in this trailer, right behind
Charizard.
Fucking weird scaly ass fucking Charizard. And I know it's supposed to be, it's actually not supposed to be a dragon, because it's not a dragon until it evolves into Pokemon Charizard X. So it's a flying fire type. As much as you guys want to call bitch ass Charizard a dragon, it is not a dragon. It's a flying lizard. There's a fucking difference. They showed an army of Bulbasaur.
Yes.
You bet Bulbasaur fans were all over that shit like it's our turn now. That shit looked amazing.
So,
that's what Bulbasaur would look like.
You? Just you?
Me and the guy that runs Bulbaganda. And all his bot followers.
There you go.
What's funny is he's actually been converting people to Bulbasaur. It's really weird. He gets a lot of DMs and messages that says, I see the light now. Now I know why Bulbasaur is not only the best starter, but a great, cute, awesome, cool, tough-ass Pokemon. And what I liked about the design for Bulbasaur, and this is something they hadn't done yet in the games or any of the models, is the little bulb on its back. Yeah, it looks like a little frog running around, and they didn't go too far off design with him. It looks exactly like a real-life Bulbasaur. But the bulb is almost like slightly peeling in some portions, so that kind of goes with maybe the evolution portion of where they're at. Not everyone's going to look exactly the same. So I was really happy with that army, and I think that's the only scene we're going to get of Bulbasaur.
Probably.
But I know that this movie's going to be one of those where each one, you'll see a Squirtle, you'll see a Bulbasaur, and you'll get a Charizard fight scene as we saw Pikachu versus Charizard. And being that those are the two popular ones, yeah, they're going to have them fight each other, and there's going to be a whole scene. But every fan is going to have their Gen 1, and that's what I'm sticking with, because that's all we saw. Their Gen 1 representation. Oh, no, we did see Greninja, you're right.
Yeah, Greninja, and then in the sky in that first scene, you have that little flower thing.
That's true,
flying through the air.
But do you not think that this is going to cater to Gen 1ers?
Oh, I'm sure it will. And another point about that is, while Pokemon is generally for kids, I don't really feel that this movie is for children.
Correct.
It's for people who grew up in Pokemon, or grew up on Pokemon, enjoy Pokemon. But as we said in the very beginning, the main character is 21 years old. So it's not the story of a child. It's the story of a young adult who is finding his way back to Pokemon. It's all of us. Shit, it's all of us. So it is, I think kids can watch it. I don't think there's going to be anything in there that kids can't see, right? Because it's Pokemon, you still have to keep that. But a lot of the themes are going to be more mature than I had expected.
I like that we saw the army of Greninjas, too. Those looked amazing.
Yeah,
One
they're
of my
going to
favorite
fuck
Pokemon.
them up.
I think they're on the bad side.
Yeah,
I think
they're
supposed to be Team Rocket. The other thing I tweeted out, too, is that from the looks of the movie, it looks like it's going to reference the anime more than the video game. I don't think we're going to get any youngster Joey, for example, or a truck being pushed and Mew being under, or any of that. You saw Jigglypuff with a marker, so she's going to be marking people's faces, and that's straight from the anime,
like
and not the
everybody's
game.
favorite thing.
That's my thing, though. I wanted, and I know why they didn't do it, because people are more familiar with the anime, but that also tells me that they're just catering to the Gen 1ers, and that's fine. That's where a bulk of your money could come from. But I think, regardless, you're going to see kids go see it because it is Pokemon. They don't have to reference Sun and Moon fully. You're not going to see Professor Kukui in there. I think we're going to see Mewtwo somewhere near the very end. There's going to be a reference to it. At least people have already spotted. There's graffiti of M2 in certain parts of the trailer. The one thing I did want to see, and I hope we do see, is their Mimikyu. I want to see a realistic looking Mimikyu. Is it also furred up, or is it going to be cloth?
No, it'd have to be cloth, because that's all Mimikyu wears. Like, it would just be a burlap sack looking like Pikachu.
Do you think we're going to see Jesse and James?
I don't think that we'll see any characters that originated from the anime.
No Ash, no Misty.
Nope. I don't think that we'll see any of that because I feel like this is a very modern world. Yes, they're referencing some things from the anime, but I feel like they're trying to pull away from that as well and kind of do their own thing and create their own world, right? You don't want to be stuck in having to make Ash and Misty and Team Rocket a certain way because if they put them in there, I'm going to go, oh, cool, Ash. Wait, he doesn't act like that.
Right.
And then they've now shot themselves in the foot. If anything, I could foresee maybe a reference to or a cameo from Red, but it would be the Red like hiding in the cave that just ... like he can't say anything.
Right.
But that I could see.
How about the video game itself, Detective Pikachu? I know neither of us have played it.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think they'll actually pull from that? Do you think it'll be more closer to that game than the actual main series?
I really don't know. I would have to play it and see and determine for myself.
Because in the game, it is all about murdered Pokemon and, they're solving mysteries. And
right.
I think we are going to get a lot of that. And in the wake of that, then they'll get into the battles, into the action. And I don't know if that's how the game itself is or if it's more like a Phoenix Wright game. But this is, I think, to me, it looked like a love letter to Pokemon fans. As a moviegoer, the movie's probably going to be awful. Like, I'm telling you that. But if you like Pokemon, then it's going to be a fun experience.
Enjoy it. Yes. I don't foresee it winning an Oscar.
No, it doesn't even have to win an Oscar. It just has to be a decent movie. Like, if I can pull when I rate this, I probably will give it a 1 or a 2. I'm sure. Unless it shocks me. I don't know. It's
I will
possible.
probably give it a 5 for being awesome.
I know I'd mentioned the other franchise earlier, but if at the very end, if there is a post-credit scene or near the end of the movie, the bad guy or whoever, someone's going to go to jail because it's Detective Pikachu. The police are going to be involved. There's going to be an end scene, typical, police lights everywhere. Maybe you'll see Officer Jenny at the end and someone gets arrested. I want someone to say, I want to get the people that put me in jail. Get me Miles Edgeworth. Boom, black screen. I'm like, oh my God. Phoenix Wright and fucking Detective Pikachu.
See, I thought you were going to pull in Batman into this.
Now, he's already busy with Godzilla versus King Kong. I want Phoenix Wright and Detective Pikachu to team up versus Miles and the villain. And then when Miles finds out that the guy's actually terrible, then they all team up against him. And Mewtwo, and Lugia, and Ho-Oh.
What did Lugia and Ho-Oh ever do to you?
They're being mind controlled like every other fucking Pokemon movie.
I get that, Mewtwo's an asshole. That's fine. But Ho-Oh and Lugia did nothing to you.
All right, Weezing. Fuck, I don't know.
No, I like Weezing too.
You like Weezing?
Yeah,
I didn't know you liked Weezing.
Pick some asshole that I don't like.
Pichu.
Okay, fine.
Prosecutor Pichu versus Detective Pikachu.
It's perfect. Prosecutor Pichu.
Any other thoughts on Detective Pikachu before we head out? That's on to the next news bit.
No, wasn't what I expected. If you haven't seen the trailer yet and you enjoy Pokemon, go check it out. Let us know what you think on Twitter.
It's going to release in less than a year on May 10th of next year. But there was another trailer I heard, I think, from the opposite company, Disney. Was it a Marvel thing?
Was there? I don't know.
Not too sure.
I didn't catch it. I heard that there was something.
It had something to do with playthings. It was like the fourth one. I heard a little bit of it. And
Frozen 4? Are we up to that one already?
It, I think.
Toy Story. Poor Toy Story. You know what happened?
You can feel bad for Toy Story.
You know what happened? Detective Pikachu came out, and then Toy Story 4 trailer came out, and the world went, who cares?
Did you care?
I didn't. I didn't even know it happened until you told me it happened.
One of our brokeheads said that's the power of Pokemon.
Yeah.
On Discord, Bobby was saying, good on Warner Brothers. They fucking threw that shit. I don't know what Disney could have dropped. Could they have dropped you know what? What about we did not see Infinity War 2 on the same day as the Pokemon trailer. Do you think, who gets trending on Twitter? Both or one?
I'm throwing out some numbers here because we need to share numbers, right? So
sure.
we can see how important this is.
Actual facts.
So, yes, actual facts. So, from the Disney Pixar YouTube, the Toy Story 4 trailer has 10 million views.
The Toy Story 4 trailer, 10 million.
10 million.
That's, how many of those are bloated?
Just listen, 10 million views. Okay, how many would you expect Detective Pikachu to have?
Detective Pikachu, the way you're saying these things, I'm gonna say 40 million.
33 million.
33 million. 3 times as much as fucking
times as
Disney.
many.
Warner Brothers went, oh, yes. Oh, very good. We've got Pokemon. Fucking Pokemon, man. Bigger than Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
Bigger than anything
Well,
Disney put out. What the hell?
Granted, the Toy Story 4 trailer, the first one, was pretty weak.
I suppose so, but I guess maybe that was the thing. It was an actual teaser.
And here's the thing, too, arguing about Toy Story 4. The first trailer that they put out, you only needed to see once, right? There really wasn't a lot to go and digest again.
Correct.
Detective Pikachu, you can be pausing that
Yes.
bitch all day long and pick out something, right? So you're going to watch it through and enjoy it, and then you're going to watch it through and you're going to pause it and finish watching it. And then you can watch it again and say, oh, there's something. Like, every person, we've seen it, 3 or 4 times, just ourselves already.
Mhm.
We've seen the Toy Story one once. Now, granted, the second Toy Story one was a little more fun because they had to release a second one.
Which Disney, like, the next day. Can you imagine that shit? Like, what these motherfuckers? What the fuck happened? Get the fucking second trailer out tomorrow. To me, that's more insecure. It shows the
Right,
insecurity of the fucking company. Like, hey, guys, please, remember Toy Story 4. I think that's embarrassing. I think they should have waited longer. The next day? No. Wait a month.
Right. Wait a little bit, let this blow over, so to
Yes.
speak, and then put it out.
Because people are still talking about Detective
Right,
Pikachu.
and people are still not talking about Toy Story 4.
Release 3 more. You do a way better Mickey than I do.
Get me that Detective Pikachu!
Can that be the villain for the second one?
It's perfect.
New
You know what?
toys,
You
I
know
guess, got
what?
shown.
Oh, never mind. Is the next Deadpool movie, is that under Marvel? Disney Marvel?
Yes, it will be by then. Not the second one and first one are still from Fox,
Okay.
including the re-release that's PG-13. But Deadpool 3 will be,
So
assuming
there's-
Disney doesn't shelve it.
So there's not going to be a Detective Pikachu reference in the next Deadpool because they won't allow it.
Some fucking motherfuckers. See, there you go, guys. This is another thing. You guys wanted Disney to take over Fox. You guys wanted that so bad. Now you're not going to get your Detective Pikachu reference. Let's head on over to the company, back to Warner Brothers yet again. A lot of Warner Brothers on today's news, which is what we really like talking about. Through the release of the movement of Release the Snyder Cut, the DCEU belugas have uncovered different scenes from the Suicide Squad trailer and are now asking for David Ayer's cut of the film. Release the Ayer cut.
When asked about a cut Joker scene from the film, director David Ayer joked with a tweet saying, quote, "That was the Joker and the Superman fight that was cut," end quotes.
Fans have been looking for a Joker cut of Suicide Squad ever since different scenes from the trailer were pointed out as missing in the final movie, and the second trailer had a more contemporary pop feel to it, which also showcased different scenes that yet again did not show up in the trailer. And Ayer has also since said that his cut of the movie featured more backstory to the characters. It wasn't as glossed over as we saw, where doon doo doo doon 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 doon. Here's Harley Quinn, and she's arrested, and that's the end. He's like, no, we had much longer scenes for each of those characters and less pop music.
Let me make some argument, though. 2 arguments. I have 2 arguments. The first is, I get why people are asking for these cuts, but do they not realize that this is pretty much like every movie, right?
Yes, but in certain movies, it's more noticeable.
Right.
Which in this case, with this and Justice League, there are very huge differences and even whole scenes that we didn't get in the movie.
The second argument that I will have is, yes, it would be interesting to see the original vision for Suicide Squad, but what they changed it to, I still think was very successful for them. And I enjoyed it, and I think it very much met the feel of that team, of the Suicide Squad, right? So yes, it was more contemporary and more pop, but for such dark characters, that's kind of what you needed to bring it up so that more people would enjoy it. I don't know. That's me. I enjoyed Suicide Squad the way it was.
Do you think they would make, is the editing, is the production that they would put into it worth not even a theatrical release, maybe a limited one through Fathom Events, but then a Ayer cut Blu-ray? Do you think enough DC belugas, including myself, I would buy one of those?
I don't think for Suicide Squad. I definitely think for Justice League, there would be. I think for Justice League, they would make more money off the Snyder Cut than they did off the original Suicide Squad. I don't think that there's enough people who are disgruntled with it. And I think the people who didn't enjoy it and are asking for the other cut would also not appreciate that other cut.
What I think is fascinating is back when the movie first released, Ayer had said that the theatrical cut was still his film. And it's now, 2 years later that he's saying, he's coming out and going, well, actually, there were other scenes. There's a different feel to the movie.
Because now it's okay because of all the Snyder stuff.
I think that, and also back then he wanted to make sure that the movie was successful.
Right.
So he at Warner Brothers said, make sure to tell them that, no, this is your movie so that they go out and see it. But over time, people figure things out. They start pointing out scenes, and then they start tweeting the director who said, that's from this scene, or no, I didn't see that. Just like Snyder, who still has not seen Justice League, which speaks volumes. About how he was treated, I guess, at Warner Brothers over his version of the Justice League. And one of the things they asked him was, what was up with the Russian family in the movie? And he asked, what Russian family? So there's a lot of that coming out more and more often that gets fans very curious. And, we want to see definitely a true Justice League movie where you do see Darkseid, where they are looking up into the boom tube and seeing, fucking apocalypse. But we're not getting that, and not yet at least. And it's like, well, if we're going to focus on that, why not give another artist, another director, their push? Let's see your vision, David Ayer.
I'm fine with the way it is.
Do you remember how deep and the first trailer was very fitting with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. You had the somber music. And then you get the second one, and we were looking at when we first saw the movie, and I'm sure when we reviewed it, we pointed out that the weird filters that they randomly threw in there.
The filters are still super fucking weird, but it still has that scene that I go back to every time where he's shooting all the people, and he's no. Got chills right now.
So no Ayer cut for Kelli. I'll watch it, but it seems like we're more concerned with Justice League and doing that right.
I mean, that's my thing. Spend the money on something else, right? Don't waste the time and the energy and the money trying to do this, which obviously, again, was very successful for them, right? When you can spend all that in making this other cut for us.
Sure. Let's talk comics for a little bit here. Archie Comics is reviving and rebooting its Sabrina the Teenage Witch comic book through a 5-issue miniseries. And I'm guessing based on how well those do, then they'll consider an ongoing.
In this new Sabrina series, the teenage witch will move to Greendale to live with her aunts Hilda and Zelda. According to Entertainment Weekly, this Sabrina will deal less with dark satanic demons and more with balancing love interests, an instant rivalry, and a couple of misfits who might or might not become fast friends.
This sounds to me like the recent Archie series, which we fucking adore.
I loved it.
If it's anything like that, give me it. Sold. Yes, we're going to try this. Absolutely. And I think it's smart to have Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which has been plagued with delays, so might as well not really be around. And instead do the opposite, do a lighter Archie type of series with Sabrina, and I think it's going to do better than if they just continued or rebooted the Chilling Adventures.
I think also with the popularity of the Netflix series for Sabrina, this will bring a lot of people into, reading this comic. And again, I think a lighter comic is the right move because that show is so dark. So it's for all those people who loved the show growing up, which was significantly lighter. Okay, on Netflix, you can watch this darker version. And here's a lighter one as well, if that's what you're more into and would rather read.
And by its own nature, being dark is not a bad thing, which is always something that I have to remind people. Right. That's not a valid criticism of it's really dark. It's like that doesn't tell me good or bad.
Right.
That's a tone. So in this case, though, you reminded me, when I talk about the Archie series, I recommend that to customers all the time. And when they're looking for something indie, I'm like, actually, Archie is really fucking good. They're like, oh, is this spinning off from Riverdale? I'm like, no. Rivendell wasn't even inspired by this because Archie, the comic book, is classic Archie, but it's a little bit deeper, not too modern, but yeah, it's a little bit more modern. Whereas Riverdale is, I would liken it to Chilling Adventures. It is darker. There's murder, there's drugs, there's sex. It is an adult CW type of Archie, which is the comic is not. The comic is still at its core, classic Archie. So I hope that that's what happens with Chilling Adventures, or in this case, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Sabrina previously had 4 comic book series, but this new number 1 for the 5 issues is set to release March 27th of next year.
Something also set to release next year, which is huge.
Way bigger.
Way bigger than anything ever. Honoring 80 years of Batman and its 1000th issue next year, DC Comics will be celebrating with an oversized hardcover titled Detective Comics 80 Years of Batman and a collector's edition issue of Detective Comics number 1000.
If you thought Action Comics 1000 was big, just wait till fucking Detective Comics 1000 launches. Detective Comics 80 Years of Batman, the hardcover. What are you getting for each of these? On the first one, 80 Years of Batman, and they released a similar one for Superman. Exact same title. They replaced it with Action Comics. The celebratory book will include essays looking at Batman from extraordinary perspectives, including Cory Doctorow, Neil Gaiman, Glenn David Gould, Denny O'Neil, former San Diego police chief Shelley Zimmerman, and pulp historian Anthony Tolan. Hardcover will feature unpublished stories, though, and original layouts from Detective Comics 200.
So, Shelley Zimmerman, the police chief, did he work with Batman?
I know nothing of his connection to Detective Comics, and I will say nothing. I won't even make a joke, because what if it turns out to be something that really cool? So I'm not even going to say anything on that. I love that Denny O'Neil is involved. You have to. The co-creator to Ra's al Ghul? Yes. Get a story in there,
put him
please.
in there. Where's Bruce Timm? Where's Paul Dini? Get them in there, too.
What would our Detective 1000 hardcover commemorative thing be?
Well, I mean, Kevin Conroy, for sure.
Right.
He would be on the cover next to Batman.
Not Batman, Kevin Conroy. So a headshot?
Yeah, both of them. His actor headshot where he's like, in black and white.
He's posted that before.
Yes!
He's like, oh man, I used to be so young. And it's him like looking real serious at the camera.
So he would definitely be there. He would, in my book. You'd have to have Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, right?
There you go. There's 3.
You couldn't not have
the
them.
late Alan Burnett.
Yes, late Alan Burnett.
I'm still alive, assholes.
I mean, you'd have to have some comic writers in there, right? Peter J. Tomasi.
Yes, absolutely.
He would have to be there.
Denny O'Neil.
What
about, what is it? Be Reasonable Neil. Neil Adams?
He would charge too much. He'd be like $10,000 for me to write this, and be like, "Come on, Neil, be reasonable. It'll be $20,000 next year,
and $30,000 if you ask again." It's like fuck.
So I just not in there.
How about let's do Mark Hamill. Does he have a spot in there? The Ultimate Joker.
Yeah, go ahead, throw him in there.
Arlene Sorkin.
Yes,
the and only Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. Absolutely, she would have to be in there. More people. It would have to have in honor of Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Oh, yes. There you go. Absolutely.
This will be a great book. Let's start working on this.
Scott Snyder, do you throw him in there, or do you kind of like, you can do a forward? Or
that sounds fine. Just a forward. I mean, it would mostly be Kevin Conroy.
I would have included Tom King if he went forward with the fucking wedding.
Oh,
I
but
don't know. No, I don't think we're...
No.
I'll announce that Tom King's going to be in there, and then last minute, he won't be in there.
You'll take it back. Poor Tom King. He's never going to live this down.
Hell no. He hurt us deep.
Is his tombstone, like, he'll be dead, and you'll sneak in there and, like, change what they're going to write on it, and it'll say, they never got married.
It's like fucking Daniel.
There was no wedding.
The Detective Comics 1000 Collector's Edition. So what do you get? What is the difference between this and the actual issue?
So this will be a 96-page landmark issue. It'll feature an original story written by best-selling author Peter J. Tomasi from Batman and Robin Detective Comics, with stunning artwork by Doug Mankey from Batman, The Man Who Laughs, and Blackest Night. Paying tribute to the Cape Crusaders' 80-year legacy, the book will also include a series of supporting stories by DC talent, including Jeff Johns, Brian Michael Bendis, Paul Dini, Christopher Priest, Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, Kelly Jones, Dustin Nguyen!
Yes, we fucking forgot Dustin Nguyen. How'd you keep him out of the hardcover?
I don't know. And Alex Maleev and more, but mostly Dustin Nguyen.
See, I wouldn't put Alex Maleev in either. He was not nice to us at MegaCon.
What's Brian Michael Bendis doing in here? He's been on DC for half a second.
Yeah, they asked the same question when he worked on Action 1000. They're like, really?
He's been there. It's not like he came over to DC saying, I have a Batman story too.
See, Jeff Johns is another one we forgot. I would include him in our book.
Go ahead.
I'm glad Jeff is on there. Our buddy Jeff, my friend.
You know, I would put Jimmy and Amanda in there too. They're friends. They can come hang out.
True, they are friends.
They
Blue
can write
Juice
like
Comics. How about Tom Mum?
Put him in there too.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. All of them.
I'm glad Paul Dini is on this. You got to have Paul. And I don't know if Dustin Nguyen has yet said, I should ask him on Twitter, if he is working on Paul Dini's story, because they need to reunite. They are the ones who technically did the first panel featuring the Gotham City Sirens.
My heart wouldn't be able to hold it in. Write Dustin right now. Stop the podcast. Stop the podcast. Write Dustin Nguyen.
The Broquettes already wrote to him, tweeting, saying that he needs to be on the podcast. He never responded. Never responded.
Because he's busy working on this issue. He doesn't got time for Twitter.
Jeff and I still have our monthly conference calls and little, bit of whiskey and whatnot and rum. Dustin, come on, man. He might be going through some stuff. I'm going to chalk it up to that, Dustin.
He's writing this issue. I told you. He's working. It's very hard work.
We have another quote here. Quote, "The enduring popularity of Batman over the past 80 years speaks to the character's multi-generational appeal," said DC publishers Jim Lee and Dan DiDio. "We're proud to celebrate Batman's cultural impact with these special releases and look forward to a year of commemorating this milestone anniversary with fans across the globe," end quote.
Two things. One, we forgot Jim Lee and DiDio. Oops. They would be in our book too. Just like all the people that we like, they would be in our book.
Yeah, we like DiDio. I know he gets a lot of hate. I like DiDio.
All of our friends. Second, a year commemorating Batman. He said a year. That means it won't just be these two things. We're going to get Batman shit all year long.
More specifically, it sounds like Detective 1000 shit for a year, because I initially was going to say, no, you always commemorate Batman 24/7. But I'm like, oh, Detective 1000, okay. And then you go back to still celebrating Batman as you normally do.
These two hardcovers will release in March 2019. No details yet on the Detective Comics 1000 issue or its variants.
Yes, so I know someone out there is wondering, like, so is this 1000? No, they're going to do it just like they did with Action 1000, where you're going to get a book that is that 1000th issue, but they haven't yet unveiled the full plans to Detective 1000. They're going to come out with these hardcovers first, and then they'll focus and market all of the variants, all of the covers, the actual issue that will be Detective 1000.
Do you think that you will enjoy this Detective 1000 as much as you did Superman Action Comics 1000?
I really liked and celebrated Action 1000, but it's Batman. It's going to be bigger. There's going to be bigger sales. There's going to be probably more variants. And yes, I am going to celebrate this even more because it is the goddamn Batman. You can blame Batman the Animated Series for me being a DC fanboy. Who do they blame for Papa Kelly's DC fanness?
You.
So me, which goes back to the animated series, which goes to Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy, and
it's all their
everyone. Greatest Batman, anything ever. I'm excited. We're going to cover the variants when they do eventually reveal them, and I hope Dustin does have a Detective 1000 variant. I want Michael Allred as well. I'm sad that the late Darwin Cook, he would have had a beautiful fucking cover. Great. Would have been amazing, but
what if they released one that he had already had planned?
They've actually done that a few times.
Yeah?
I know Palmiotti has revealed there was a Harley Quinn trade that they're coming out with, and he said that there was an unused or unfinished piece from Darwin for a cover they were working on or a page. And then what they ended up doing is inking it, coloring it, and then Amanda added it to the background. So that would be a beautiful, actually. I would enjoy that, but at the same time, it's curious to see what he would have actually done. He put together one of my favorite comic covers of all time, which is from the Darwin Cook month of variants. And I know me and my coworker Jordan at the time were the two most excited people that we knew, even from customers or anyone else, for Darwin Cook month. And we bought all of the variants that month for Darwin Cook. Did not sell like we expected. Apparently, people like hyper-realistic work. as opposed to work like Darwin Cook's or Michael Allred. They prefer the Jim Lees. They prefer the Alex Rosses, as opposed to people that do the more kind of pulp style, like Midnight Mystery. We just had him on the show a couple months back, and that's fine. Everyone has their own tastes, but to me, give me a Darwin Cook piece over, believe it or not, Alex Ross any day, and that goes back again to my tastes. But my favorite cover is that detective one. You flip it on horizontal, and it's a sleeping Batman. And he's got the bloody knuckles, and either Alfred's bringing him food or he's wrapping the knuckles. I can't quite remember. Or no, he's putting a blanket over Batman. Beautiful cover. It's like, that is my favorite Darwin Cook cover. We're lucky that we got it signed by Darwin. And I don't think he was feeling well that time, because I told him, man, when Darwin Cook, when your month was out, it destroyed my wallet. And he's like, oh, thanks. Like, it was, like a little thing, but beautiful fucking cover.
And with all of that fantastic news out of the way, we can move into what happened with us this week, our Broket block.
I had a bit of a tweet, a PSA that kind of took off on me, and it's not the first time this has happened with this kind of thing. A few years back, a comic shop posted a stack of comic books and said something similar of, make sure to pick up your books, and this is a stack of unpaid comics. And I had the biggest stack that I had seen at my shop after over a year of operation. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. So I took the picture. I was upset. I was frustrated. I think the worst part of that is the false promises or the lies of, I've been out of town. I'll be there. I'm going to pick them up. I prefer for you to tell me as soon as you know that you're not going to buy these things. Hey, I can't afford it. Hey, I'm out of a job. Hey, I don't want these anymore. Hey, I'm out of collecting. As soon as you can, because otherwise that's an extra couple of books that we order a week to compensate for you over that month period, or over that, hey, I'll be back in 3 weeks. You are lying to yourself. You're lying to the shop. And I did put up a tweet that had a stack of comics, and I was just upset and frustrated, and put out that PSA of, pick up your comic books. If you don't want them, as soon as you know, tell your LCS. But most people do get embarrassed at that. I think it speaks to the whole thing of, I can't afford it, and they refuse to admit that to themselves, let alone to someone else. So that's been doing like crazy on Twitter. So that's, if that gets one other person to go to their local comic shops and say, you know what, I haven't been there in a while. Let me pick up my books, or let me get an extra something. Great. And I'm glad that has done really well. But at the comic shop itself, after months and months of having the signage, the boss man ended up putting up the DC Comics light sign outside on the window, and then also the Batman one, the bat signal, on the front window to further bring attention to the shop. So it's like, it looks really sharp from the outside. Like I was really proud of the way the store looked and that's one thing that we do get pretty often, and not just from Kevin Smith, but from people that come in and they're like, this is a really nice store. Like, this is really sharp and good. And we take pride in the appearance of the store, even though it's the smallest one in our particular, smaller than the other one that the owner owns, much smaller. But we do what we can, and we maximize. I try to maximize with the space, and I think it works out really well.
And I think that's the key right there, is you maximize the space, right? Also, a benefit to your shop. I'm just going to go off and brag about your shop, but it's not overwhelming when you walk in. And that's something that you could face with a bigger store. Like another local one that we've been to several times, I walk in and it just kind of feels overwhelming with the way it's set up and how big it is, right? This one, no, not so much. You walk in and it feels very homey. That's what it feels to me. But you can see where everything is pretty easily. And just by taking a brief stroll, you kind of understand where everything is too.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we got done at the store. And the owner also ordered some, not exactly window graphics, because I think it ends up working out pretty well this way too. But most shops will have some kind of window art at the very front. What we're going to end up doing, and it's again to maximize the space, is we're going to convert the shelves that we normally put the manga on. We're going to put them up against a window. And then because I'm okay with Photoshop, he told me, hey, these are the measurements. There's these steel beams that go across on the windows. So omit that space. It comes in at this measurement, and put some graphics up in this part. So what we're going to do, and he's already ordered them, is he's going to order these big plastic, I guess, or laminated graphics, something. It's like a heavy stock because it's pricey as hell. Like there's these signs, and then he's going to screw them onto the other side of the bookshelf, and that's going to go against the outside of the store.
Oh, okay.
And we went over back and forth through email, like, how about this? And I kept giving him images. How about this one? How about this? And he'd say, move this one here, put that one there, put this picture of Sonic over here. And then that was kind of the neat thing where I got to pick the images, and he would say, no, pick a different one. All right, let's choose this one. And now it's all finalized. He ordered the signs. So before Black Friday, we're going to have cool window graphics to go with the lights that are on there. So it's exciting to me because it's like the shop is still taking shape over a year later.
Right.
And I think that's always going to be the case. A shop should forever evolve and change and adapt and move. One day Funko Pops are not going to be a thing. Again, we've said before, the more long-term Beanie Babies of this generation, and that's fine. Whatever the next thing is, okay, let's use that space for something else. Oh, now we have this extra space. Why don't we move this over here, which causes another change on this part of the shop. So that's just the latest thing that we've been working on my full-time job. That's what's been happening on my week.
What you said is 100% true. It just reminded me of one of the courses that I'm taking, right? And we had to do this long discussion exactly about that. The companies that you see thriving right now are the ones who have the ability to adapt and change very, very quickly with the trends, because with the internet, trends are coming and going much more quickly than they used to be because you have so much more knowledge. So that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you guys. You're doing the right thing. My week was pretty uneventful, getting into the holiday season, so we are busy as hell. I'm exhausted. It was a very long, very stressful week.
You're still exhausted.
I'm still exhausted. Yes, the end of my weekend, and I'm still tired. So my Monday, I went into work, right? Like, gonna close. It's gonna be great, right? We had some IT error where every order that was ordered printed 2 tickets in the kitchen.
Beautiful.
2 tickets all day. I called somebody. I said, IT, come fix this shit. They called me back 3 times. What's the problem? What needs to be done? What happened? I'm like, this is all you need to do. I told them what they needed to do, and they couldn't even do it. So all fucking day, lines out the doors, printing 2 tickets, and then in the middle of dinner, the broiler goes down. So now I have no burgers, or my burgers are coming out raw, right? And then the people there are like, oh, well, let's just throw them away because they're raw. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Put it on the grill and finish it.
When it rains, it pours, right?
It'll take 30 seconds. Oh, I never even thought to put it on the grill. Like, oh my God. So, and then to top it off, I got out 2 hours late that night. So it was a very stressful week for me, but it was a great weekend with Leo. He's a very happy baby right now. He's still teething, but I feel like most of the fussiness for teething has kind of started to go away unless he's tired. Mm-hmm. So he's just laughing. I let him run around the backyard. We went to a mommy fitness class, and he ran around there and interacted with other babies. We took him to a little kids gym activity today, right? And he got to see other kids there and tried to grab them and wrestle them to the ground or
Only
whatever.
the blonde kid. Like, fucking blonde. So it's like, Jesus, Leo.
He really liked that kid. I don't know. So he had a lot of fun there too. And it's so much fun for me to watch him continually growing, because I remember him a year ago, right? I was on maternity leave. I was home with him all the time, which I miss. But I remember how tiny he was then, and getting to see his development to where he is now. He's a little man. Like, he's a kid now. He's not just a baby anymore.
He's still a baby.
He's like a little baby kid.
I still see him as a baby, me. Like, I look at his little hands. He's still learning. He's interacting. It'll be a while before I see him as a kid. I'm guessing. I don't know. I haven't had one of these things before. Yeah, the fitness class was interesting. I was more comfortable this time than the first of like, what am I singing the ABCs? And I'm pretending to be more enthusiastic than I actually am? What's going on? This time I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's go.
There was another dad in that class too.
Yeah, and he had clearly done this several times.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah, come on.
Clean up. Let's go. All right.
Put stuff away. Leo's got to interact with babies, though.
That's the thing, though. That I think that's... one, I don't want him to be some cringy fucking fuck when he grows up. Not a weeb, but just not socially awkward, right? I don't want him to have that anxiety, which lasts a lifetime. You got to be around people. You got to know how to act and interact, and that helps your entire personality, your entire future, entire
your career,
life.
everything.
Your career, everything. You got to know how to talk to people. And that's one of the things is when we had him in this class, the first time we took him, he was much younger, and it was all about him crawling around and playing with things, being confused when someone took a toy from him or whatever. He didn't really comprehend the world like he does now.
Right.
In this case, he was interrogating that little blonde baby. It's like, hey, man, you're not the only baby here.
Right.
And I heard that from another parent, too, where she said, yeah, my boy needs to understand he's not the center of the universe.
Right. Well, one thing that I saw was really important too is she would go around and she would pass out the instruments, right? All the kids got to play with the instruments. And you could tell the other babies that had been in the class longer because they were sitting and waiting for the instruments. And Leo wanted to run over there and take them. And I was like, you have to wait, Leo. Like, you can't just go and grab it.
He's like, why? It's right there.
She'll get to you. Right. So it's things like that. We're very fortunate that we don't have to put him in daycare, but you do have to find other ways.
Right.
For him to interact with other kids his age and learn that you can't just push down the little blonde kid.
He said, what kind of cultural behavior is this? What have I been born into?
What's this shit, Mom?
It is right there. Just take it. Survival of the fucking fittest.
We also got to watch Medea's Boo 2 this week.
Fucking amazing.
Hilarious.
So funny.
Went up on Hulu.
It is on Hulu right fucking now. You can watch the sequel. The one thing I will say about Tyler Perry movies, and be prepared for this, is there are like 5 scenes in the whole movie.
Oh,
he
yeah,
likes to
they're all the
spend
same.
20 minutes on a set and just a conversation, which is a funny fucking conversation.
Hilarious.
You will laugh way more at this. Is way funnier than any MCU movie you will watch. They put in jokes. That doesn't mean they're funny. There are less jokes in this than any MCU movie, and they all fucking land. They all fucking hit. Tyler Perry, TP, fucking amazing. Well fucking done. I will watch. I don't know why he's doing that non-Medea movie this year.
Who wants to see a non-Medea movie?
It's like it has Whoopi Goldberg. I like Whoopi,
Is it
but
Whoopi
that's not Medea.
and Medea?
It better have fucking Medea,
She
and it
better
doesn't
be in
have
there.
Medea in it. It does not. So I'm not seeing it.
The thing I also love about the Medea movies is I feel like he puts zero money into them
Yeah.
and still makes a shit ton of money.
I feel like there are YouTube productions, YouTube shows that have a higher budget
yeah.
and more effort than his. But good on him. He does not need to put because his writing and acting is so fucking sharp.
So funny.
So fucking funny. Cracking my ass up on these killers running around. And it's the same theme of the woman being wrong and eventually Tyler Perry being like, I was right. I'm the right dad. I'm the right man. And it's like, great. Can I get Medea now? That's all I want.
And Medea is so funny. What's his name? Like Tyler Perry's dad in the movie? He's one of my favorite characters too.
Your mom was the best hoe.
She had no teeth.
She was no teeth, no tonsils. She knew the craft. She was my first hoe, my main hoe. She was my bottom.
And Tyler Perry's just like, okay, Dad.
Dad, I've heard enough. He's like, please, no more of this. Super domesticated fucking dude.
If that was my
No
family,
balls
I
on
would
him.
just sit in there all the time. Like, please talk to me about your life.
That's the theme. His family's trying to get him to grow some fucking, and that's the same movie every time. And I'm like, great. I know what to expect. I know I'm gonna have a great time.
Yep.
I want her to go to jail again, by the way. I hope that was a tease in the movie where she's like, I'm out, gotta stay on the down low. I want her to go back to jail again.
I'm sure she will, though there will be more Medea movies. But I think they have all of them up on Hulu now, so we need to watch.
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know. They
you
had,
told me that there was another one.
yeah,
I'm like,
Medea's
you have all of
Family
them?
Reunion
I have not seen that
from
one.
2006. That was the first one.
No, the first one, her first appearance in cinema was Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Oh, okay. Family Reunion's up there. We haven't seen that one.
Gotta see it.
So we gotta watch it.
Actually, I think that's the second. No, Medea Funeral comes out next year.
Oh, no. I am so excited. Is Medea going to end up in a church? Is she going to go by the church?
She's gonna go buy the church. Bye-bye, church. Watch Medea on Hulu if you have Hulu.
Yes.
You will not regret it.
But that was it for our week. We would love to hear what you did in your week. Hit us up on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Kelli. But now we have our Patreon shoutouts.
First shout out goes out to Matt on Twitter at Mr. Forklift.
Matt has been retweeting UCF football news, including semifinalists for the Walter Camp Awards.
I know we have a couple of Brokehead core members because Florida is in our top 5 downloads for the podcast that are big on UCF football. So if you want to interact with a big UCF footballer, at Mr. Forklift on Twitter, also pretty active on Discord.
Speaking of UCF, one of the players' name is Kevin Smith. I don't know if you knew that. And so when you told me that he had come to the shop, I was like going around. I'm like, do you know who Kevin Smith is? And they're like, the UCF football player? I'm like, just get out of here.
Just smack him,
Don't
move to
even
the next
talk
person.
to me. No.
Push him to the ground, Leo style.
Blonde kid.
Next shout out goes out to Jared on Twitter at Spoon Sandwich.
Jared retweeted one of the best Batman moments from Young Justice.
Do you remember this scene from reading the script here?
I do. You can be Batman. I'll be Wonder Woman.
Robin needed to help bring the men who murdered his family to justice.
So he could turn out like you?
So that he wouldn't.
Brr, 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 brr.
Brr, 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 brr. Hell fucking yeah. Wonder Woman, what do you say to that shit? What do you say to that? No one says shit to fucking Batman.
You know what you do when Batman says that? You just jump in his bed.
I was going to say you fucking. Yeah, Wonder Woman fucked him immediately.
You
like
know
after
she
that.
did. Our next shout out goes out to Scott, whose Twitter handle is at Lazy Gaming Guys.
They returned and started streaming again.
Woo-hoo!
Check out their YouTube channel, youtube.com/lazygamingguys for their latest Spyro, the remake, Let's Play videos.
Our next shout out is Joss, whose
Jose.
I apologize, Jose, whose Instagram is at Decal Avenue.
He posted up a compilation video of gym workout accidents.
Oh shit, I'm sure there's so many.
There are several of people falling on the treadmill,
Uh-huh.
like as they get back on it, and whoop, boom, immediate face plant. Guys that can't lift the amount of shit they put on their thing. The best one was exactly this video, which I expected to see the same where it falls on the chest, right? Because that always happens.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, though, it was he's struggling, he's like, "Argh!" And all the guys, the gym mates, notice. The first guy that gets there and runs over trips and falls on top of the weights as well. And that's when it fucking collapsed down on him.
Oh my god.
And then it took the other 2 guys to like flip the fucking thing and all the weights to fall out. Like, you fucking idiot.
One of my favorite ones that I've ever seen is when they're on that machine where you like lift it, like the weights by your ankle or the bars by your ankle, and you lift it and they put too much weight. And so when it comes down too fast and flips them out of the chair.
I've never seen that one.
It's so funny.
I saw one where the woman missed the leg thing and she was going back and she flipped herself over onto herself.
That's the thing about the gym is you always try to like look impressive to everybody else. But if you do this wrong, you fuck yourself for life. Like you're done if you break something or pull your muscle funny.
There was one woman who farted on a guy's face, like when he was doing his thing, and she like walked by and then he's like, and he like put it back, and he was spitting. Like, what are you spitting for?
Because the I don't know, the air.
He tasted the fart.
Nasty. Why? Did she do it on purpose?
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
why?
she did. Just to fuck with him, I guess. I'm guessing she knew him.
Oh, okay. Probably.
Last shout out goes out to Jordan on Twitter at Aswaylock. He's one of the co-hosts of the One Up Me podcast, a video game podcast twice a week.
Jordan just released a couple of episodes covering Netflix's Castlevania Season 2 and Red Dead Redemption 2.
I tip my cap down to the One Up Me podcast podcasters for doing it twice a week. That takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of research. Takes a lot of editing. So bravo, guys. The twice a week is awesome. It's crazy, but it's awesome.
You're insane, but good job.
Like, nicely done. I am jealous. That does do it for our Patreon shout-outs this week. We do want to give another thanks to Jose for also helping us with the Decal Avenue decals at the $5 reward tier on Patreon.
If you too would like your shout out every single week for as little as month. Your shout out every single month for as little as $1 a week. That is 25 cents an episode, sometimes less when there's an extra week in the month.
That's right.
You too can have your shout out.
If you're saying that I can't afford $1 a month, or I'm already helping you guys out, another way you can help out, and it's free, takes 2 minutes. Leave us an Apple Podcasts review. If you don't have an iPhone, borrow a friend's. they have Apple Podcast app. You go to our website, thereasonsimbroke.com, scroll. You don't even have to scroll. Click on the Apple Podcast button. It will take you straight to their fucking app. Go on the stars, leave a rating, and write a review. That's the important part. You also got to write a review because it shows up on the podcast app and it helps other people find the show.
And while you're on your friend's phone, just subscribe for them
Yes.
too. Just hit subscribe.
Nice little Christmas present for them. Like,
there you
oh
go.
shit, what is this thing? Let me
The
visit.
gift they didn't know they needed.
Visit this audio file here. Oh my goodness, this is great. I don't know why it's Tyler Perry now. But thank you so much for your Patreon support or for leaving us a review in the past on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you consume the podcast.
And with all our Patreon shoutouts out of the way, we will move into our 2 comic book highlights. The first one is William Gibson's Alien 3 number 1.
I know at @insmouth_tide right now is going, 2 comic book reviews. We love Aliens. I love Aliens. I know you liked Alien better than
Yes.
Aliens, but this is the original screenplay adapted to comics for Alien 3, which we ended up seeing the original movie. They did not use any part of this original screenplay for that. You did not have Newt really in Alien 3. So in this case, if you wanted to see what the original script was, what they did not go for when they made the live action movie, you have the comic. That's the beauty of comic books. So you can see the continuation of a world that's been canceled, like Firefly, for example, or you can get alternate takes or worlds that meet, like Star Trek and Transformers, the animated series. This new number 1 for this miniseries, written by, of course, the screenwriter William Gibson and adapted by Johnny Christmas, who also does the artwork, with colors by Tamara Bonvillain.
What kind of name is Johnny Christmas?
Johnny Christmas.
That's like the coolest fucking name ever.
It is.
Feel like he's a mobster or something.
That was the weirdest part when I was doing orders on Diamond and it would say Christmas variant. And I'm like, is it a holiday variant? And I would go in there. It's like, oh no, the artist is last
Johnny
name
Christmas.
Christmas.
Great artist name.
I know your biggest draw, not my biggest one too, with Aliens, aside from the amazing fight scene at the very end, is that relationship between Newt and Ripley. That's the whole theme of it, in which she does lose her daughter by waking up many years after the first movie, and then she kind of rebuilds that relationship and refills that part of her life that was missing, while at the same time doing it for Newt, who also lost her family, and eventually they grow to know each other as and love each other as mother and daughter, as she fucking kicks ass and destroys these fucking aliens. People rave about, like, oh, Captain Marvel or Wonder Woman, strong female characters. It's like, watch fucking Aliens. That shit is a strong female. Watch Terminator. That shit is a strong female character. And that, I'm glad that you get more of that in this, but also it seems like Bishop is going to be a main focus of this miniseries, who I fucking adore. The android that got ripped in half in the last one. I don't think we even saw him in Alien 3. I don't remember seeing him in that.
Either.
And in this case, he is back and he's fucking gonna be repaired. He better be a fucking part of the ending as well. I don't care if he gets ripped up again and he's hanging off with the shit and saving Newt, or this time Newt is hanging on to him. Like, that'd be a good one. What'd you think of the first issue?
It was definitely a setup issue. I won't say that you can go into it without having prior knowledge of the Aliens franchise and everything that it is, but I didn't feel lost, even though it's been years and years since I've seen the other 2 movies, right? It just kind of is a good setup so far. You're introducing new characters in a way that's pretty interesting, aka they're getting busy when they open the door, which I wasn't expecting. The one criticism that I do have, and I have this criticism with all Alien anything, is I'm like, God, guys, what's wrong with you? Why are you humans so stupid?
How else are you going to introduce these
I don't know.
xenomorphs?
They're just, humans are stupid. They're just like, oh, let's break into the ship that obviously had some type of containment and like some outbreak and see what's going on.
Next thing you know.
I know. And then people die and then people get aliens in their bellies.
Right away, too, they introduce the alien that eventually is going to end up fucking these guys up. I do think that this is going to be more low-key, not only by the fact that it's titled Alien, it's probably going to be a throwback to the first movie, rather than an action fest that was the sequel, which I loved. I like seeing that they raised the stakes in the sequel of, yeah, you thought the first one was crazy with one alien taking out these motherfuckers. How about an army of, oh, there's a queen, by the way, and she's pumping these fuckers out. That is great. And then Ripley's mowing them down with the fucking flamethrower,
Right.
with the machine guns, with Newt in one fucking arm. Fantastic. I want that again. I don't know if we're going to get that, but I want that again.
It can be a flashback.
Can we get an army of queens? And how about the alien king?
No. Nobody cares about the alien king.
It's really just the little aliens fucking her, probably, just like in the animal kingdom. Tiny alien.
Right. Or, I don't know, she like asexually reproduces. I don't know.
Well, they compared it to bees when they were first doing the Alien sequel, and in that it's the honey queen, which in bees it's different males are constantly
Right.
yeah.
Getting busy with her.
And she's like, this is what I'm doing.
Speaking of bees, just a cool story. My dad relocated a bunch of bees recently.
Honeybees. Yeah.
He's renovating a house. Oh, I didn't tell you like the rest of that story. So they're renovating a house and there was a fucking huge ass hive of bees in the wall, right? So he took it apart and because he cares about the environment, he put them to sleep, smoked them and sucked them all up in a bucket. Researched online how to do this without killing them and all that kind of stuff, right? And then went and released them in a big ass field down the road, right? Went back to get his bucket because of course they were all in the bucket when he dropped them off and he had to wait. Came back a few days later and hadn't realized that the field was actually full of wildflowers. So the bees are already eating the wildflowers and then they made a new hive in a tree. So they're living a happy life.
Yeah, I know that's one thing he was looking for was the queen from I'm assuming she also got sucked up in the process of it.
Yeah, we're assuming so because there's no more in the house. Like they didn't come back to the house.
And once you remove the queen, then they're like, hey, we need to find her or make a new queen.
Right. So they're not in the house. The house doesn't smell anymore. And he's happy.
See, that's one thing I learned of like, it smells bad. I did not know that. I did not know honey was like terrible smelling.
I don't know if it...
Or at least the hive.
Right. I mean, probably the hive smells bad because the hive is made out of saliva, right?
Well, I've eaten honeycomb before and it was not smelly.
Maybe it's before it becomes honey then that smells. Honey is basically just bees spitting into a thing and drying it up.
True.
That's what it is. So somewhere along the way, then there's bee poop everywhere, right?
Yeah, they don't poo honey.
Right.
And we're like,
bee poop.
Meanwhile, we're like eating the saliva, so.
Right. Whatever.
That's cool though.
Anyway,
I did not know that. I'm glad they found a new home.
They did. I'm happy that they're making stuff and being essential to our environment.
I was going to say, I hope they build it quick enough to survive through the winter, but it's not even that cold out, so they'll be fine.
Yes.
Honeybees anywhere, if you want to survive through the harsh winters up in Illinois, come down to Florida and you'll be fine. It never gets cold here.
You'll be fine.
Alien 3, just to summarize it real quick before we go into our other comic book highlight. Yes, if you've seen the other two movies, this is, I would say, a must-read. If you haven't, you can pass on it. If you've only been reading Dust to Dust or Dead Orbit, and for some reason you haven't seen the first two Alien movies or did not care for them, yet you're somehow still reading these comics, then I would say skip this. No one out there. If you're an Alien fan, read this.
Our next comic book highlight, which we promised last week, is Batman's Secret Files #1.
This is a one-shot as part of the DC Foil Month variant for October, written by Tom King, Ram V, Cheryl Lynn Eaton, and Tom Taylor, with art by Mikel Janin, Jorge Fornes, Elena Casagrande, and Brad Walker, with colors by Jordi Belair, Matt Wilson, and Andrew Hennessy.
This book is a bunch of different stories, as all the writers and artists and colorists would suggest. Some of them I really enjoyed, some I didn't really care for.
Yeah, it was pretty much like an annual of sorts, except it does seem like one of the stories, at least, introduces a new potential villain to the Batman mythos. So if you're one of those, first appearance type of collectors, then you do want to try to track down a copy of Batman Secret Files #1. But for the most part, I think about half the stories I was like, all right, yeah, that was really good. And the rest, it's like, it was a one-off type of thing. I wanted to see a continuation of the first bit with Tom King's, and you never saw what happened. And maybe we will later on, or maybe that's the whole poetic, ending to the little short story where Superman gives Batman a platinum kryptonite, which would make him superpowered like Superman. And on this night, Batman is hurting. He can't even hold his teacup that Alfred brings him because his muscles are that much in pain
he
and
broke
they're
his
numb
knuckles.
and everything. He's hurt and he says like it didn't used to hurt this much when I went out and did these things. He's getting old. So he's considering this essentially what is almost like a superpowered Lazarus pit, but in the form of kryptonite and being a Superman. And you don't see the ending to that, but if you read into it more, you kind of notice that Superman is coy, like he smiles to himself because he knows he's a good man. And it's like, okay, so he knows that he's not going to touch the kryptonite and that's the end. But it's like, why bring it to him in the fucking first place?
So that they can live together forever.
Just so that Superman can feel secure to himself about something. It's like, quit being a diva, just like Shadow the Hedgehog last week. Fucking tempting Batman and shit. Well, at least he's going to probably study this platinum kryptonite now and have another weapon or another contingency plan for any other fucking B-champ that decides he wants to touch that platinum kryptonite. He's going to study the weakness to it.
Yes, there you go.
Another, the one villain tale is the one I was telling you about with the Scarecrow serum, and it says the end at the very end because they do seem to not solve. It's a bad ending to that particular character.
Right.
The whole Winter Lodge shit, terrible art, terrible story.
Didn't enjoy it. It was really weird.
My second favorite story from this bit was Detective Chimp, and I think it is because we're reading Justice League Dark, but there are parallels between two characters in this, which are Detective Chimp and this child, and meanwhile, Batman and Riddler are just the background of this tale.
That one was a good one, too. It kind of got you right in the gut, right in the heart, when it ended, and I would hope that the kid turns over a new leaf and goes in a different direction because of this, which ultimately that's what Batman and Detective Chimp are out there doing every night so that people don't go down that road.
I like that the ending is Detective Chimp telling Batman, yeah, I'll be fine. And Batman says, well, let's just take you to the hospital anyway. And he's like, all right, but I'm going to bleed all over your Batmobile. And Batman says, it wouldn't be the first time and won't be the last. It's like, give me an entire book of Batman Detective Chimp and him bleeding all over his Batmobile. I will buy it every single fucking month. Two detectives, every book, that is a Detectives Comics. I want that.
Comics. Perfect. So overall, would you recommend this issue?
Preemptively, I'm going to say yes, because we don't know yet what's going to come out of these stories if they choose to continue them. If they don't, obviously it's a complete pass, aside because two stories in it. Like, it's a great cover, though. I will say that. Like, if you are, and I have a lot of customers that do that, they don't read the book and they just collect the really cool covers, or they'll sub to only variants of a particular series. And the Secret Files one is one of my favorite foil covers from that month of DC Comics. The one thing I do point out is someone circled the underwear portion of Batman and they're like, oh, look, they shadowed over it extra. It's like, no. This has been solicited as this exact cover well before Batman Damned came out. But now people are like looking at Batman's crotch in every single shot now and saying, oh, are they trying to hide it now? It's like, shut up. No, they're not.
Are you sure they aren't looking at it like, oh, is it there? Oh no, they're just hiding it.
I'm looking to see if they're going to hide it.
Yeah, they better hide it.
It's just like the 1 million moms who watch Lucifer. I'm just watching it to point out the bad things.
When's that show coming back?
Wasn't that canceled? Didn't they cancel that?
Didn't somebody pick it up?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. It was Hulu or Netflix. I think it was Netflix.
There's the actor who plays Lucifer is in a new Amy Poehler movie coming out.
Oh, nice.
Amy Poehler? Anyway, essentially the premise of the movie is she's like, love fucking sucks. And then she wakes up and she's in like a romance movie. So all the things you expect to happen to romance is happening, but she is still in the mindset of not being in a romance, right? So she's like, why are all these guys interested in me? I'm like fucking gross, right? And so he's the doctor in the movie. And I was like, I want to see it just because
she's going to end up with the doctor.
No, she finds some other guy. Like halfway through the trailer, she's talking to some other guy. So you know that's who she's going to end up with. But
good for him, though.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
Yeah,
he really
I'm glad
is.
He's getting work. He seems like a nice guy, too. So good for him.
So that was Batman Secret Files #1. And our comic book highlight and the rest of today's episode.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Reach out to us on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke, at Kelli. Let us know what you did with your week. Let us know what you guys are eating for Thanksgiving next week. That's coming up.
Plans.
We're almost there.
Black Friday plans.
Yeah.
What'd you guys find? What'd you guys get? Send those pictures along. I know we'll have another episode, I believe, before that happens, but when it does, do we?
No,
it's
it's
coming
next
this. You're
week.
right. So let us know what you got for Black Friday. Send us a tweet. Send us a Facebook comment. Easiest way to find us is on thereasonsimbroke.com.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to all of our Patreon backers. As we say every single week, Brokettes, all will be well.